welcome to my demonstration video of Noa dForce hair for Genesis 8 female in Daz Studio. This video is divided in the following chapters: library options of Noa hair, parameter options of Noa hair, and a current frame demonstration, which is beginner level, and a timeline play range of 30 frames with one pose demonstration, which is intermediate level, and finally a timeline play range of 60 frames with a style morph instead of a starter shape morph, and this is a advanced level demonstration. Starting with the library options, when you navigate to the folder where Noa hair is located, you see a wearable preset. When applied to the figure, you can see in the scene pane it contains the actual hair and also a repel figure. This repel has an invisible material, but it needs to be there during simulation. Do not delete or move the repel. Just let it live next to the hair. There is a folder called Starter Shape Presets. Here you can find morphs that move the hair in a certain direction. If you use these presets, apply them before starting the simulation. There is also a zero hair preset, which sets all the morphs back to zero of the hair. Next up are the simulation presets. You can choose to use a current frame preset or multiple frames. Keep in mind that if you pick the 60 or 90 frames preset, you need to manually add those frames to your timeline. Note the first frame is 0, so for the 60 frame preset, input 61 in the total box, and for the 90 frames preset, input 91 manually in your timeline. There is also a reset simulate material preset. You only need to use this if you have edited the simulation dials in the surfaces pane and want to revert them. Onto the array material folder. In here you see the natural folder, with the 50 hair colors for you to choose from. And there is also an extra folder. You find a layer setup material, which I personally use to better see morphs and the drape during simulation. And there are also 4 transparency presets, and those give you more control of the density and the tips of the hair. And again, there is also a reset simulate material preset. You only need to use this if you have experimented with the simulation dials in the surfaces pane and you want to revert them. Moving on to the parameter options. Under Actor Morphs, you will find 3 folders. In the Adjustments folder, you will find all the morphs for fine-tuning. In the Moves folder, you will see the morphs where the starter shape presets are made of. Here you can choose to dial a custom percentage instead of the full 100% of a preset. The Styles folder contains style morphs. So if you like to make the hair longer, shorter, more curly, less curly, or thicker, you can. Note that all these morphs are required to be used before simulation. My recommendation is to choose one single morph, either a move morph, so a starter shape, or a style morph, because certain morph combinations can give unexpected results. So experiment, and when you see spikes show up, you can dial morph values lower or use only either a style morph or a move morph. I will show you in the advanced demonstration that you do not need the starter shapes per se, as some of them are basically pre-simulated drape morphs, which can always be accomplished with the timeline play range method. On to the first demonstration. This is a current frame and it's beginner level. This is the easiest and fastest method. Step 1. Load a Genesis 8 female and add character morphs and shapes, add clothing, and add a pose. Step 2. Select Genesis 8 female and load the hair, so the wearable preset. Select the hair, not the repel, only the hair, And in the starter shape presets, pick one preset that is suitable for your pose. In the simulation presets, choose the current frame preset. Now go to the simulation pane and press Simulate. During the simulation, you can either wait till the simulation is done, or you can cancel any time when you think the drape is suitable for your render. With the current frame method, you have one single frame as a result. On to the intermediate level demonstration. This is a timeline play range of 30 frames with one single pose. Step 1. Load Genesis 8 Female and add a morph shape and add clothing and apply a pose. Step 2. Open the timeline pane. You can find that in Window, Panes, Timeline. Step 3. Select Genesis 8 Female and load the hair. Step 4. Make sure you are on the first frame in the timeline. Step 5. Select the hair and in the starter shape presets, pick one preset that is suitable for your pose. Step 6. In the Scene pane, select All. Step 7. In the timeline, press the keyframe button. That is the button with the key with the plus sign. Step 8. In the timeline, go to frame 30 and with everything selected in the Scene pane, set a keyframe again. Step 9. Scroll back to the initial frame in the timeline. Step 10. Go to the library and in the simulation presets, choose the 30 frames preset. Step 11. Save your scene and go to the simulation pane and press Simulate. Now, after the simulation is finished, select the hair and in the Parameters General Simulation, you can freeze the simulated hair. I highly recommend to freeze the simulation on each object that is successfully simulated, as it won't resim if you press Simulate on accident. The advantage of using multiple frame setup is when the simulation is finished, you have all these frames to choose from for your final render result. A timeline play range with 60 frames demonstration. Advanced level. I show you the way how to use a style morph instead of a starter shape preset or move morph. Some of the move morphs are pre-simulated morphs and point to a specific direction. This way you don't need starter shape presets, but you can customize the direction of the drape. On to step 1. Load Genesis 8 female. Again, add a morph shape and add clothing. Step 2. Open the timeline pane. So in the menu, that is Window, Panes, Timeline, and set your total frames to 61 manually. Step 3. Select Genesis 8 female and load and select the hair. Step 4. Make sure you are on the first frame in the timeline. Step 5. Go to the Parameters, Actor, Morphs, Styles, and dial the Style Long Curl. Step 6. Select Genesis 8 female and apply a pose. Now select the hip of Genesis 8 female and dial Z rotate to 90. Step 8. In the scene pane, select all. And step 9. In the timeline, press the keyframe button. That is the key with the plus. Step 10. Scroll to frame 20. Here you select the hip and dial the Y rotate to 45. In the scene pane, select all again. And on frame 20, in the timeline, press the keyframe button. Step 13, scroll to frame 40 and set the hip back to the initial state. You can also reapply the original pose. Now in the scene pane, select all. And in the timeline, on frame 40, press the keyframe button. Step 16, scroll to frame 60 and select all in the scene and set a keyframe at frame 60 as well. Now scroll back to the initial frame . Step 18. In the simulation preset, choose the 60 frames preset. Now save your scene and go to the simulation pane, and you can press simulate. Now when the simulation is finished, select the hair and in the parameters go to General Simulation and you can freeze the simulated hair. So when the simulation is finished, you have frame 40 to 60 to choose from for your final render result. Now this concludes our demonstration videos for Noa hair in Daz Studio. Consider subscribing if you would not mind. Wishing you good health, happiness and inspiration. Make it a great day and thank you for watching.